Hi Chris, how are you?
Hello Rod, yes I'm well. Here we are, what are we? We are the 28th of July.
We are?
Episode 183. It's a Monday afternoon and it's muggy.
Is it? Yeah, I suppose it's not that muggy. I've been in Morocco, as anybody who listened to the last podcast. I find this quite chilly, frankly.
Yeah, I've been here the whole time. To me it's muggy. It's it's plenty warm, but there's a lot of cloud in the sky. It's my worst kind of weather. Either give me the sun or give me a cold wintry day. I don't like the middle.
It's better than that sort of rain that just hangs in the air that you'll sort of walk into. That's the worst kind of weather.
You're in Wales, you probably get more of it than I do.
Well, it's a Scottish word that I forgot for this. I don't remember if I've told you this. We've known each other a long time, but there's a Scottish word for rain that hangs into the air that you walk into.
Is that gone?
Smur.
I've never heard that word, I swear.
There you go. So, I mean, it is
Smur.
because, like the Eskimos have got 400 different names for snow, but Scots have lots of word for rain, and smur is one of them.
Do you have to say it with a Scottish twang?
You need to roll your R's at the end for sure, yeah.
I can't do accents.
That may not have gone well into the podcast microphone. I apologise to everyone. I might have just blown it out.
Should we get into follow-up on that note?
Let's get to follow-up because we're talking nonsense now. So, first story. This is follow-up because we did talk about it when the company sort of relaunched itself, or the original owner bought the IP back anyway. But they weren't calling themselves Pebble at that point, or the watches weren't called Pebble. They were called Core 2 Duos, which is a really bad name, frankly, because they're...
So they couldn't call themselves Pebbles because of trademark, but they could use Core 2 Duo, which was an Intel chip from 2007-8, because it used to be in the first Intel Macs. But they were fine with that. I just find that bizarre.
It is slightly bizarre. Anyway, the story is Pebble is officially Pebble again, as reported on The Verge earlier this week. I like Pebble. I'm happy to see Pebble come back. I think it's a good, low-cost alternative to the Apple Watch. You don't need half the stuff the Apple Watch does. You don't need the pain in the arse battery life that it gives you, frankly. Having been away on holiday and had to charge an Ultra every 24 hours or more frequently, frankly, it gets a bit annoying sometimes. All I really want is a step counter or a good old-fashioned watch, Chris, yeah.
For the listeners, Chris is holding up his analog watch that just works. I do have a watch winder, though, I must confess, because I've got a few watches, and so it does spin them when I'm not wearing them to keep them wound. I'm happy to see Pebble here. I think everybody's got an Apple Watch. It'd be nice to see some different competition in the market space. So I think it's cool to see Pebble make a comeback. Yeah,
I think Android are obviously there with their Android Watch platform as well. Samsung have made an awful lot with that too. But I there's something quite simplistic about Pebble watches, e-ink display, long battery life on them, bit of a step counter. I wonder if they'll be able to bring sort of payment methodology to them in the same way that a lot of the Android things, and I know Garmin devices have payment options too. So if they bring that as well, it's a complete product then.
I've seen other analog watches like Swatch can have some form of payment too. So I think there are more doing it, because you just need a mechanism to register your card. So yeah, if they can do payment on it, then maybe it is a bit more interesting. The design's not for me. I think they need to do something with their aesthetic, but that may come.
That's the way they used to look, though. I had one of these original Pebbles, and that's not one. That's the Core 2 Duo, or the Pebble 2 Duo, as it's now called. That's the way they looked.
Yeah, some work needs to be done there.
Does it look better than a Fitbit?
Yes.
Well, there you go.
They're largely defunct now, though, aren't they?
Well, yeah, I suppose they are. They've been integrated into that. But quite a lot of people still have Fitbits.
I think integration into Google is a loose term these days. You mean they've been shuttered?
We have had in our things we must talk about someday. Apple doesn't have a Google graveyard forever. It must be for about 2 years at this point. Someday we're going to have to address this. The whole graveyard thing that app companies and things have. But no, I've just looked, and according to the Google website, you can still buy Fitbit trackers.
Oh, okay, wow. All right, there you go. I didn't know that.
There you go. They are really, it's kind of a small icon at the top, and Google Pixel Watch 3 is obviously far more something they'd rather you buy, but it's not that expensive either, really, is it? At $249, so yeah. Or you can get a Fitbit Charge 6 for $99.99. I presume it's the same in dollars.
Yeah, that feels quite a bit of money, doesn't it, for just a Fitbit?
Yeah, but if you put the Pebble up against that and you say it's got 2 weeks battery life or however long it's got, then I know which one I'd rather have.
Agreed, I can understand that.
And I'm not giving all my data to Google or Apple.
Yeah, there's benefit in that too, isn't there?
There is a certain something in that. Should we move on?
Let's do it.
So I think we talked about this before in the light of Police Scotland, who had queried why some of their data wasn't remaining in Scotland. And now Microsoft their cloudy data wasn't remaining in Scotland because there was meant to be a certain amount of digital sovereignty. And it seems that Microsoft absolutely can't guarantee digital sovereignty. And I think this is kind of a flag in the sand for probably a reasonable number of UK companies, in the sense that Microsoft promise, for lots of reasons, GDPR being the one that's foremost in my mind, as well as security, that UK data must remain within the UK, EU will feel the same, EU data must remain within the EU. And now, under oath, a Microsoft executive, it says that isn't possible.
It isn't possible, and it's never been an issue for the scenarios in France. It's never come up for France before, but they can be subpoenaed to provide data. And I think this is more important. It's not just GDPR, is it? But it's also now people training their AI models, adhering to local law. But even if you're a French company and you're dealing with US customers, you may well get subpoenaed for your data as well. So it's wherever the cloud provider is, they could be subpoenaed for data relative of their jurisdiction, relative of their country that data is held in, or where that company is registered.
Yeah. I think this is a big privacy issue for lots of non-American companies, frankly, that, as you say, the uses of data go beyond what might have been envisaged when cloudy services started, and LLMs and the training of that data has that kind of impact. So we're at a point, I know things are quite friendly between the EU and Trump, and the UK and Trump and other countries at the moment, given his recent golf tour around Scotland. But again, it's just another warning, I think, for you've really got to pay attention to where your data ends up. It's turnkey for lots of small and medium enterprises and larger enterprises just to choose Microsoft and Azure or Google if you're on the other side of the fence, and I understand why people do. But if you're at all long-term thoughtful, for want of a better phrase, about what the ultimate uses of your data could be put to, particularly if an American company is subpoenaed to get access to that for some other reason, you could just be giving away the keys to the kingdom.
It's really hard, isn't it? Because you've got a lot of services that are international, but you're still physically based in a country. You're selling your services to customers in a possibly different country, and there's no international law, is there? So it's a really challenging concept, I think, in a way, for a lot of these companies to, be international but adhere to all the pockets of law. And we've also talked about it a lot with Apple, where they're getting even more fragmented than they once were.
Yeah.
It's quite challenging. I don't know what this means for data stored in the sea, because obviously Microsoft did sink a data center, didn't they? They had like a submarine data center.
Well, yeah, in the sea, and it's in space now as well. It's being transmitted over Starlink satellites. So it's a real ball of wax. And as you say, if you're an international company with offices in Ireland, offices in America, offices in the UK, and you've promised that your data will remain sovereign in your country, that's one thing. But then there's other data. So like if you're an NHS trust or an American healthcare provider or a French healthcare provider, and you're putting patient data in those clouds, because let's face it, that's some of it's going to be in there by hook or by crook, that could be a problem as well. So interesting times for data sovereignty, really, around the world. Shall we move on and talk about another reason why this might be bad?
Yeah, go on then.
So we've talked about Copilot, we've talked about Microsoft Recall. At one point, Microsoft had said that their Vision product, which is not the Recall product, this is, in fact, I've got so confused with these things, I can't remember exactly what Recall is. I think it's being able to assign particular elements within.
No, Recall, where it snapshots everything you're doing all day long. That's Recall.
Oh, that's Recall, but Copilot Vision, what's the difference between Recall and Copilot Vision?
My understanding of Vision was reading this, and it wasn't clear to begin with, but it can then take all that data, send it off to the cloud, and then OCR it all, and then act for you. So it's seen what you do, and then you can use it more like an agent to do things that you do without you doing them, but you'll be trusting Copilot to do it for you.
Yeah, and all that data gets sent to Microsoft servers, and as we've said, Microsoft servers aren't sovereign, and they can be subpoenaed, and all that kind of stuff. So everything that's happening on your Copilot side of it, which, let's face it, is more of the business side, as the way we think about it, and Recall is more of the personal user side, ignoring the agentic thing that you've talked about, which is a fairly flimsy distinction for me at the moment, because I suspect very quickly these products will be the same thing. It's a whole ball of wax again, isn't it? If you're putting all these things in clouds together, they can be subpoenaed, they can be used. They're probably not, encrypted particularly well for people to be able to get access to them and all the rest of it. I think this is problematic.
I don't like the sound of this. Like, just log into my bank account and transfer my partner £20, and what could go wrong there? I can't find. I was just looking for it in the words. There was a statement in there saying, like, we don't keep your data forever, but we do keep it for some non-determinate amount of time, and it just all seemed very. It just all seemed a little bit woolly how it all works, and that's what worries me with some of this tech.
I see. I mean, they say it quite well in the article. This is basically like Clippy for agentic AI, isn't it? It pops up. It looks like you're transferring data money to your partner. Would you like me to help you with that? That kind of thing. It's creepy.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm just building my trust up to use AI a lot for searching for something, proofreading. I've used it a lot recently for summarizing a legal document. That's been really helpful. I've read it, and then I've just had it summarize it. I'm comfortable with that. But I think having it do things for me, I am a long way away from that.
Yeah, I'm in an uneasy place with this because on one hand I see the benefits, but I see so many negatives about it. And I've still got in the back of my head that this is Web 2.0 and it's all about to burst. I don't think it's going to burst now. I do think it's going to burst in about 18 months to 2 years though. And everybody's going to be left high and dry, and lots of tech companies are going to go under hard.
Potentially, because there's a lot of cost confronting some of this, and are they going to make back enough money to keep the servers going and the processes behind it? But yeah, I don't know.
It feels like a cult.
Yeah, it does a little bit. There is some good use. I do generally believe there are some fantastic uses, but I agree with you. I think there's a lot of companies that are betting the farm on it, and they, like you said, they could end up collapsing.
Yeah. I mean, I won't go into it a lot, but between this and crypto, it's like we're being told here's some things that everybody should sort of invest in, and because it's a pyramid scheme, or a Ponzi scheme, and I don't know, I just get that sort of vibe off this. It bothers me, but I won't bang on at length. I know you're a little more accepting of some of these things than I am.
I'm just more of an optimist, I think. You're a realist.
My deeply pessimistic Scottish soul just cries out to me there's something not right about all this. Having said that, I mean, I've used a bit of the local stuff myself, and I know it gets things wrong, and every time it gets things wrong is another sort of thing for me to not trust it. In fact, we have a story later about how badly it can get things wrong. Should we move on?
Let's move on.
So, just this is a story in The Verge earlier this week as well. July 24th, not an important date to me, about Intel laying off 24,000 employees and retreating from some countries. And I just think this is further evidence, if evidence was needed, that Intel's losing it, or lost it.
July 24th is Rod's birthday for our listeners. B, I'm amazed how many people Intel seem to employ worldwide. Every time they come up with some numbers, it blows my mind. Obviously, laying off 24,000 people is a huge number. It does feel like Intel is maybe just reading the tea leaves now and gone, oh, actually, nobody's really using our chips anymore. Because you don't hear people scream about them. I think they're still good for gaming, is my understanding. Obviously, still used in some servers. But they're struggling in the laptop space with Snapdragon now going into some of the Microsoft products. Obviously, Apple had rolled in their own. Qualcomm are doing really well in the mobile space, Snapdragon. So, yeah, it feels like a delayed reaction to where the market's been going, but it's a big number.
Yeah, it shrinks the company by roughly 1/4, it would seem, based on the number of employees they have. That's a huge amount of layoffs, frankly.
So they had just shy of 110,000 people at the end of last year, which is a staggering amount.
And if we think back, this almost happened to Intel before, in the sort of, it was post 386, it was about 486 Pentium era. They were shrinking, and companies like Cyrix and AMD were really beginning to eat the lunch in desktop x86 chips, as they were back then. And Intel came along with it was an Israeli firm, I think, that came up with the design for, was it the Core 2 Duo, or the Klamath process was what it was on die anyway. And from them, they've been able to sort of iterate on. It gave us good 64-bit chips. It made all of their business an awful lot better, and everybody just doubled down as then they went forward onto i5, i6, i7, i9, as is now, i3. But since then, AMD have come on strong. As you say, Snapdragon have come on strong. The ARM design has really shown that you can have power efficiency and performance in a very small package, and all that means savings in terms of cost, time, etc., etc. As you say, a big honking Intel i9 running at overclock speed is still certainly a thing to be reckoned with when it comes to an LLM or potentially a game. But really, what makes the difference now is GPU, not CPU. So the fact that at the low end they're being bitten away by Snapdragon and Apple and other ARM processors, and you only need to look at the RISC-V boards that we've talked about previously in this, that look like they're going to have decent penetration on the server market. If you can save money, save power, and come away with some performance at lower dies, then unsurprisingly Intel are really struggling. And if they're firing people who are doing R&D for them, that's the end of the company. Because a chip manufacturer needs to be a world leading.
Well, they need to be looking at not what we need today, what we need 5 years from now, and be working on that strategy. And I worry that we're going to see another one of these before the year's out from Intel, of a significant number of people being let go, which is not good.
But it has been the pattern. I mean, the reason Apple jumped ship is because it wasn't going tick, small upgrade, talk, big upgrade. It was going tick, 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 talk, wasn't it?
And it was quite amazing, wasn't it? Like, every time Apple released a new chip, it was like, whoa, how have they done, every time, how have they done that? How will they keep pushing that envelope forwards?
Yeah, so it seems Intel weren't. There is, if you read the article, a little bit of hope that when Apple produce the next generation of mobile chips, that they will have a die process that will be able to do it, and they could have some skin in the game again. But given their previous history, I'm not 100% convinced this is going to be the thing. And then at this point, Intel are just becoming a fab for other people's manufacturing. They're not designing their own chips.
Yeah, they're not going to have the intellectual property or the licensing. Yeah, it's a bit like Microsoft. They've missed the mobile revolution, haven't they?
They really have. A company that, or not a company, but an agency that's certainly not missing the LLM revolution is the FDA, and we've talked about them before, how they'd fired a bunch of their staff and they'd brought in a generative AI called Elsa to do a lot of their reviewing and studies for them. So they got rid of the staff who were experts in what they did, and the FDA, for those that don't know, are the Food and Drug Administration. They're an American agency that looks at the safety of what Americans eat and what drugs are proven to work as part of the population. So they would, for example, if a new drug was being brought to market, the FDA would look at all the evidence of the clinical trials, look at what deaths were, what the cost for the drug versus its potential benefits to a patient population would be, look at the other research, have experts who know what they were talking about, and make a decision whether it was viable for use in the American market. In the UK, that agency is called NICE. So the FDA, instead of having all these experts who knew what they were doing and were able to read the papers, make decisions based on the science and the costs involved, introduced an LLM that would do it for them. And unsurprisingly, the LLM hallucinates, and it's got a bunch of stuff wrong, and this is frankly terrifying.
Wow. Yeah, I agree with you. You can see why this should work. It's a closed case. It's a finite set. It should be good at doing this, but for whatever reason, it just hasn't worked. But you can see how they've ended up making that call. Yeah, not good though, is it? And how many things are people relying on this and they're not checking whether it's hallucinated or not?
But this is the problem, isn't it? Is that you get rid of an expert, you replace it with an LLM, and as it says in this article from Engadget, it hallucinates confidently, as these LLMs do. They tell you this is the way it is. Human beings are used to, if there's a way it's written or spoken to you, you believe that, because that's the way most of us are hardwired. Is that you're not challenging something that's said to you confidently. If an expert tells you something, you believe it, generally. This is why newspapers do so well. Right. They're written in a confident style. Some people are going to believe that. A certain proportion of the population will sort of examine it critically, and others just won't because they're tinfoil hat wearing lunatics. But you should always look at everything with a certain amount of skepticism, and challenge it with what you know, do the research and all the rest of it. And that's the point of a regulator. If the regulator is just using a tool that makes stuff up, you're in a real world of hurt. And the hurt isn't now. The hurt is in 2 years when these drugs, or 4 years, or 10 years when the long-term effects of these drugs that are being accepted are actually on the market. If you look at something like thalidomide, that caused birth, that was to stop nausea in mothers and went on to cause children having birth defects, that took 9 months from the point of it being accepted to there being something obvious happening in it. So if you think of a longer-term drug, what are the long-term impacts or short-term impacts of accepting something like this?
Yeah, you are right. And it is a bit worrying that we all have heard about AI hallucinations. And you'd think we wouldn't try it on this sort of scenario just yet. Like, we'd start building up some confidence first.
But if you have somebody who took over the Department of Government Efficiency who believes that a way to be efficient is to use LLMs, and you've got an administration that's very keen on that, and they just willy-nilly cut everything away and put these things into place, you can see exactly how this situation happens.
Yeah, that you are right. That's 100% how we get there.
sorry for my skepticism and cynicism about this stuff, but when I see the UK government is making deals with LLM providers and all the rest of it, and not truly understanding the technology, but jumping on the AI bandwagon, I'm back to my LLM as a Ponzi scheme thing, So I don't want to be too skeptical. I do see the uses of it, but illustrations like this really bother me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I completely agree with you.
There we go. Do you want to tell us about Apple News Plus?
Oh, not really, but only last week did you, I think, say about the UK being behind some of the US offerings. And then here we are this week. Apple have announced that if you've got Apple News Plus outside the US in some countries, you will now get the audio stories delivered to you, which has been in the US since 2020. So it's taken 5 years. I really can't understand why the UK and other English-speaking countries are so far behind. Why has it taken them 5 years? Because, I can understand it for different languages, French and Italian, where they are completely different languages. But for ones that aren't that far apart, you'd have thought they'd have had a rollout plan here to start harmonising it. And here we go. So we're going to get it here in the UK. I was just trying to see what other countries are getting it.
It's Australia, Canada, and the UK.
So, yeah, the ones you'd have expected probably 4 years ago.
Well, why can't South Africa be in there?
Fair.
Why can't New Zealand be in there?
Yeah. Can you imagine the chart they must have of Apple services and which countries they're available in? It must be huge because there's so many nuances to it.
We talked about this last week. I won't belabor the point, but I don't think Apple News Plus is a particularly interesting service that people should. If I could remove it and save myself £4 a month or whatever, I would.
I probably would. I like the app. I do kind of like the app sometimes, but I've taken it off my phone so I don't waste time on it, and it's more intentional on my iPad. It's quite nice sometimes just to, have a cross browse of some stories from different places. But I don't think the way they've done it is very good.
No, I understand. Rather than just getting all your news from one source, I agree with you. It's important to have multiple sources to see how it's being reported. So, and again, I hesitate to recommend something that we're not sponsored for, but a service like Ground News, which gives you news from a variety of sources and actually indicates which side of the political spectrum or if it's in the central everything comes from. Those kinds of things are actually quite valid as a useful thing to have on your phone or your iPad or your computer.
Yeah, don't disagree either.
Fair enough. Should we do the news, speaking of news?
The news, let's do it.
So first up, a new app was released not that long ago called T. I apologise for some of the language for the YouTube watchers. We're past the 3-minute mark, so we're fine with that. It won't cost us our clean tag. There was an app for women, primarily targeted at women for women first safe dating, called T. It was breached by users it was breached by users because the security behind it was non-existent from the sounds of things. People were uploading their driving licenses, passports, various security documents, banking details, and all sorts of things to this app called T because it was being broadcast as being safe, and it absolutely wasn't. The app was vibe coded, so it was just put together by somebody using an LLM to put it together. They used Firebase in an unencrypted way, and unsurprisingly, all this data has been leaked. It's been posted to 4chan, and if you want to download a big backlog of potentially dating age women and all the documentation, it's available now there on the internet. So what a wonderful thing.
What is going on in our world?
It's horrendous. It's horrific.
Agreed. It's just, it's not good, is it? Sorry. It's like, how did this become a product? Who validated the product? Obviously nobody, and this is kind of the problem now. I think it is easy to launch a product, and people do it with sometimes the right intentions, but get it so badly wrong.
But where is the liability here? If you make an app, presumably you've got all the right. If you've set up an LLC as it would be in America and you've done all the things you need to do, there's no liability to the people that wrote the app. Is the liability for the people that didn't put security in? Well, it was the LLM that did it. It wasn't me. I didn't know what I was doing when I coded it. So is it OpenAI? Is it Perplexity? Is it whoever that's provided the LLM? I bet they've got pretty cast iron things saying anything that comes out of this is nothing to do with us. Yeah,
I'm just thinking surely it's the company they're selling it. I don't know.
Somebody should go to jail for this egregious level of coding. No attempt to put any security on this stuff at all.
Did they do any coding though?
But did they? Did they understand what they were doing?
Yeah, this is the problem, isn't it? I think we've got something coming up on that as well, haven't we?
Well, I just think these poor women who, in the best of intention, were out there to do it a new cool dating app. which is safety tools to protect women as they badge themselves, and this is the way they do it. I can't think of anything less protective, frankly.
It is a really big problem, though, isn't it? Because I've seen it when I've used AI bots to help me code. It gets it wrong a lot of the time. And yes, you can write better code than me, 100%. But you have to go back to it and go, this is wrong, this code doesn't work. You can't trust it until you've thoroughly tested it. But people aren't doing that. They're just chucking it in there because they don't know.
See our earlier story about the FDA and using LLMs to do this kind of stuff. They hallucinate authoritatively, and an inexperienced coder, or even some experienced coders, will, it works, fine, move on. And again, if we go back to Microsoft, what was the stat? 30% of Microsoft Windows and Office products are now written just by LLMs.
Yeah, and was it Elon or Zuckerberg that said, 18 months from now, most coding is going to be done by AI, which is a bit worrying.
Well, this is an example of why it shouldn't be. But again, give it 2 years when Microsoft get hacked into everybody in their database because they didn't have enough security on it because the LLM didn't think it was important.
And they've got LLMs doing its security as well.
Yeah. Thankfully, there's no liability in any of this kind of stuff. I think this is a sickening story. It's horrible.
It is not a good story at all.
Let's talk about something nicer. Cheap phones. I've got a bit of a soft spot for cheap phones. I think the iPhone SE is all right. I think its competition is
pretty good.
It's all right. It's quite expensive for what it is. So I think Android do a far better job at the lower end market for what you get. The OnePlus Nord was a super interesting phone. It's got a lot of high-end specs, but just a couple of understandable limitations, slightly worse camera, maybe slightly worse screen, or all the rest of it. They have moved on to the OnePlus Nord 5, though.
Okay, it looks nice.
It does look nice. And we were talking about the Nothing phone, even their high-end phone, which I think is 600 quid it came out at for their highest-end phone, which with amazing specifications. That is the price of an iPhone SE, right?
Yeah.
This little thing here is $530. It has an amazing selfie camera. It comes with a 144 hertz display, none of your 60 hertz nonsense, and a fairly open version of Android on it. So you're able to do a lot. OnePlus are often regarded as having, outside of stock Android, the best version of Android.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. A fast little phone. It's 8 gigs of RAM, 256 of storage, which is enough. You can get a higher spec one for another 100 quid. I think the screen is good. It's a 6.81 inch OLED. I would argue these hole punch cameras look a lot better than the Dynamic Island. I don't know how you feel.
They do. No, they do. You can't deny it. They look better. They're taking up way less space on the screen, so they do look better.
Yep. 144 hertz screen and a 5,200 milliamp hour battery. I think this is a really tidy and sort of interesting phone.
Yeah, it does look really good. If you had something on Android, you'd be hard pushed not to recommend something like this. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, and again, I just think this is where Apple are really losing it, particularly in markets that, maybe don't have as much disposable income as the US, the UK, and some sort of, Spain, other first world, for want of a better word, countries. Why wouldn't you buy something like this? Frankly, in a first world country, why wouldn't you buy something like this? I think there's an awful lot to be said for it.
Do you think it's because Apple have just got the market share? And people just keep coming back that I don't want to learn a different phone, it's too confusing.
There is a little bit of that. I think my sort of month on Android, last year proved that it can be done even for a sort of dyed-in-the-wool Apple user, though. You've got to be willing to change some things. But it's a mindset thing for us as Apple users that it just works. And hand up, it's easier. I can airdrop something over, it just happens. I like the fact that if I set up my iPad next to the screen now, I can drag my mouse cursor onto it. But is it that much better that it's worth paying that tax? It's you and I have said on this podcast so many times, it's the cost of getting out. There's a high cost to getting out of Apple products.
Yeah, that's it, especially when, like you say, you've got multiple platforms in the same ecosystem.
Absolutely. So I just think it's cool. I think it's nice for us to report on these sort of interesting little phones as they come along from time to time, just to show what's out there.
It does look cool.
Right, I've done a nice story. Let's do a not so nice story. The world is full of charlatans and snake oil salesmen. I just thought this is, again, something I don't want to point too much at the American FDA and what's going on in America at the moment, but they have this sort of habit of allowing pseudoscience to flourish. We saw it during the pandemic when Donald Trump himself said, "Oh, why can't we just put it directly in the body to kill the virus?" It's just not even medicine. Anyway, there's an inventor who's moved to Texas. He's a Chinese inventor, I think. who has moved to Texas or opened a clinic in Texas. He charges $20,000 a treatment. What he's doing is injecting bleach directly into cancerous cells. Bleach is not going to kill the cancerous cells, but it might kill the patient.
I was pulling faces. Whilst I'm not a medical understanding person, this feels all kinds of wrong to me. But apparently it's an AI-driven but entirely unproven treatment. How's it an AI-driven treatment?
I have no idea. He'll have said that he's probably asked an LLM, does bleach kill cancer? And it'll say, yeah, outside of the body in a cell, but it kills all the other cells as well. I bet it says that. That'd be an AI answer, wouldn't it?
It would be. And after you put your glue on your pizza, just put some chloride inside you. It's just the whole thing sounds horrific.
And after you've eaten some rocks and jumped off a bridge if you're depressed. But the Food and Drug Administration recently removed a warning about the substance from its website. So this will be part of the cull that we were talking about with the FDA stuff that happened before when the Department of Government Efficiency came along. So it has had the effect of emboldening the bleaching community. And this snake oil salesmen, which have existed for years, they only get emboldened when you don't have a strong regulator. And as we've just seen, there is no longer a strong regulator. I think this is egregious.
Oh, agreed. But nobody's going to do anything, are they? Who's going to regulate him? Like you say, that they've skin thinned down so much that this will just carry on and people will pay for it. I don't know.
I don't know what to say. Anyway, watch out for this kind of stuff, folks. It's nonsense. Unless it's come from a properly peer-reviewed study, it's all nonsense. And not an LLM peer-reviewed study, scientists in a reputable journal. Then you can have it. If your GP prescribes it, it's probably fine. Don't go and buy stuff off the internet and inject it in yourself.
I completely agree.
I don't think that's not rocket science there, but I think it's important to say from time to time.
Even if AI has told you it's okay to do it.
Yeah, especially if AI has told you it's okay. Do you want to tell us about Apple's social media problems?
Not really. What's social media?
Oh, you're probably not the person to ask about this.
I do know a little bit about this, though. And actually, I think this is quite smart what they've done here. So Apple have set up a section of their website called In the Loop, which is quite cool because their previous campus before they moved to the donut was called Infinite Loop. And obviously In the Loop means you're in the know. I think it's quite a good name. I'll give them that for name because Apple have got a mixed bag of fruit in naming stuff, wouldn't you say? Sometimes they do a really good job and sometimes less so. I think the studio name's been really good. But I think the way they've named some of their chips has been horrific. Anyway, so they've done In the Loop. And the idea behind In the Loop is that they've got people like Tim Cook posting over here and Joz Wozniak posting over there. And this is a way of bringing it all together on an Apple platform so you can see all the messages from the exec, which I think is quite cool because not everybody signs into X or Instagram. And it's a way of surfacing corporate messaging. I assume it's all approved corporate messaging, but in a centralized place. So I think it's quite cool. What do you think?
I agree. I think having all your stuff in one place is fine. You could have it as an RSS feed, presumably. If you want to get it straight from the horse's mouth, not make use of X, not make use of. I think Phil Schiller's on Mastodon, isn't he? Or certainly there's a couple of them on Blue Sky now. But if you want it from straight from the authoritative location, I think it's fine. It's weird. It's like going back in time to when you'd have to go to your corporate blog or whatever to see what people were saying. But it makes sense for a company to control that message.
Especially now we're so fragmented. And it's also, I guess, good for their PR department to give it to journalists. Look, if you want to see what our exec team are saying about anything, you just go to this link. It's not just our newsroom, which is the more published articles. Here's the little one-line comments from our exec. So I think it's a good idea.
Yep, I'm with you on that. Something else that could be an interesting thing, and we'll do a rumor for a change, is that there's apparently going to be a potential differentiation in the iPhone 17 Pro display lineup. We theorized before about they should really bring ProMotion down the range. We've just talked about that OnePlus phone, which is a far better screen than, frankly, yours and mine's Pro phones are on the 15 generation with their 120 hertz. They're now saying, as a potential rumour, that there could be an anti-reflective coating on them that would allow the Pro phones to maintain some sort of display differentiation, but move the high refresh screen down the line. I think it's a good thing.
I think it's a good thing. This is the coating that originally came out on the XDR big 32-inch screen, and then you could get it on the Studio display. Then they've done it, I think, on the iPads. I can't remember if you get it on the MacBook Pros. But they've started offering it on more things. I always found it odd on the iPad, though, because on the iPad M4, Pro. You still got the shiny black borders, but then you had a matte screen within the shiny black borders, and I'd want the borders to be the same. I've not bought a device with this coating. I don't know if I would buy a phone with this coating or not.
I like the idea of it. I quite often get annoyed by glare, and I think it's bad on your monitor if you've got windows behind you, as I do here. It's been a nightmare to light, by the way. Well, you do, and as do you. That I think it would be great on a screen. I was initially put off it because it came with its own microfiber cloth. If you didn't use the microfiber cloth, you could get bits of fiber stuck in your screen, which sounded awful to me. If you used the wrong kind of cloth, you could destroy your screen, which sounded even more awful to me. So that's what put me off. Then when it came to the iPad, I was like, well, it must be relatively robust now because you're swiping your sweaty mitts across it all the time.
It's a technology they've iterated on, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's got an awful lot better, and that's a good thing. Phone makes sense. You're outside with your phone. Again, having been on holiday in very sunny conditions, it would make absolute sense that you could do it. If you get that unreflective thing, you wouldn't need to run the display at such high brightness levels, potentially, to see what's going on outdoors, save a bit of battery, save a bit of heat. All good?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's one I'd want to see, though, because when I've seen the monitors in the Apple shop, I find the non-reflective coating to make everything not look as clear. Like if you've got a white page like you're looking at now, it just looks a little muddy, a little soft. So I'd like to see what it looks like, and I would imagine they're going to do a great job with it. But it would throw something into the equation for me of, would I go for that screen? And I'm sure it'll be a pay more screen option. I always wonder whether they do more of a privacy screen, where when you look at people have different screen protectors, they can make the screen look black unless you're straight in front of it. I wonder whether Apple would ever do anything like that.
That's a tricky one, though, isn't it?
Yes.
One of the things about LEDs, LCDs, OLEDs is that they talk about how far off center you can be to look at the screen, and it's always a selling point if you can get a long way off center before it becomes an issue. So I understand that. I can't really see them going for that. They're going to want to make a bit,
I think it's going to be too niche for them, but that's just something I did think about. But no, it's going to be interesting to see whether this comes. But promotion everywhere does sound good.
Yeah, particularly in light, as I say, of what we've just discussed. The cheaper phones on the other side have far better displays than Apple offer.
And also the new version of iOS has got a lot more animations in it, which, running at faster refresh rate will look nicer.
Yeah. Something that might also look nicer is less cracks in your screen. Apple have announced a new AppleCare One multi-device bundle with, they say here, simplified pricing, and I guess it is simpler than before. Did you ever take AppleCare?
I did go and have a look at this, actually. So I do have AppleCare on my very expensive iPad Pro M4 because I think I spent so much money on it. I thought, what's another 150 quid? I might as well get it. But that's the only device I've got it on.
I've never taken it on anything ever.
I may have done it on a phone at one point, but I generally tend not to because I think I just deal with it if I get a problem.
So AppleCare, for those that don't know, allows you a certain amount of free, in inverted commas, repairs for your devices. It changes, and because I've never taken it, I never pay that much attention to it. But for example, if you take it out on your phone, I think they will replace the back and forward front glass on your phone beyond a particular shatter rating, so it's got to be smashed in over a certain level before they'll do anything, and then they'll change it. And I think they either charge you a very small amount of money, like 35 quid, or they charge you no money for the first couple of replacements. I think I'm right in saying that.
Yeah, I think it's a relatively normal amount, and obviously they fix it all in store, and they've got professionals doing it. Sorry, can you scroll back up to the top of this page? Because when I saw this come out, that Apple Care One logo, that looked fake to me. I was like, who's done that? It looks awful. You've got the Apple logo in red, you've got the word care in a bold font, and then one in the same font but not bold. It doesn't look very Apple to me. It doesn't look very designed. It looks rubbish.
Well, this gets back to your point about their naming. I think their naming is dreadful.
Yeah.
We've been through the Apple TV, Apple TV Plus, Apple TV device. What is it now?
And then for the chips, you've got the M1, the M1 Pro, the Max, the Ultra, and it's like, well, which one's the best one? Then there was talk of there being an Extreme chip. It's really hard if you're not that close to the world. They reuse the same names, don't they? Like, we've got Ultra on a number of things, like Apple Watch Ultra. You get the Ultra chip. There's talk of the Ultra iPhone coming next year. So I don't like that naming at all. It drives me potty.
Yeah. Anyway, what they've said here is that AppleCare One will cost $20 a month and covers 3 products, and every additional product will be another $5.99 a month. So if you've got a Mac, an iPad, and a phone, there's your 3 devices for your $20 a month or £20 a month, presumably. Actually, I presume this is a worldwide thing. It's not just a US thing.
It's just the US.
Okay, so it's just a US thing, which is great. It's wait till they can offer it in the English language around everywhere else. And so you can bolt on your AirPods or your Apple Watch or your HomePods or whatever.
Maybe this is the service revenue replacement they're going to bring in when the App Store goes down because they've slackened the rules.
Again, I wonder how many people actually take out AppleCare. I think if I'd spent $4,000 on a laptop or on an iPad,
I didn't spend $4,000 just for clarity here.
then I can see it, because a new screen for a Mac Pro is £1,200 or something like that. I'm sure it's not a cheap amount of money. They need to replace the whole top case.
And also, if you're using it for work, and that's where I was with my iPad. I use it every day, all day. And I was like, for not a huge amount of money, I've got cover on it for a couple of years. I'm using it every day. If there's a problem with it, I can literally pick it up and go into an Apple store. So that's why I did it. But, this is going to be, $240 a year to do 3 devices. That's a good bit of revenue income for Apple.
Yeah, it is. And how many people actually claim on it? I suspect it's like an insurance policy. I bet 5% of the population go and claim their AppleCare.
Yeah, I think I did on my previous iPad. The port stopped working on it. I took it in. They literally swapped out the iPad for me.
But was that an AppleCare thing? Was it in warranty anyway?
No, I think I'd had it quite a long time. So it must have been an AppleCare. Maybe I did have AppleCare on that device.
Well, fair enough. I mean, whenever I've gone, it's failed within a year for MacBooks and things like that, and they've done the same thing because it's been within warranty. So I've never felt the need to take it. Maybe I've never bought an expensive enough Apple device myself to warrant it. I think like I say, if it was dropping $4,000 on a laptop, I might, but work drops money on the laptop for me. So they're not going to take it AppleCare.
No, and they probably shouldn't, because they've probably got spares, or they just go and get another one.
Yeah. So, and again, this Mac Mini, it was expensive, but it wasn't worth spending another $300. $20 a month for however long I'm going to have it. If it breaks, I'll buy another one. Particularly once you get past a year.
Yeah, and obviously newer chips come out, they get quicker. But also desktop, less likely to leave your house.
Yeah, and HomePods, although most people seem to break quite a lot, I don't think it's going to help people really.
I got 7 years out of it. I'll take it.
Yeah, but how much is it? Can you even buy the big ones anymore? I don't know.
Yeah, there's a slightly newer version. It's £250. I've not bought any, by the way.
Fair enough. Moving on, and last story for news, I think. Proton, the privacy-focused company who initially offered email, they now have a suite of word processing apps and others. They have a VPN, more on that later, is launching its own privacy-focused AI chatbot. This is quite good. I think it's sort of in the vein of what Apple are offering with Apple Private Compute, that you'll be able to make use of Lumo, as it's called, and it's I presume, a half-decent LLM that you're going to be able to ask questions of. I'd probably trust this more than I would ChatGPT.
It looks kind of cool. Not loving the cat iconography, but it looks kind of cool. Good name.
Is that just because you're a dog owner?
No, I just don't like that art. I think it's more the art style than anything, but not against cats. I like the name though. I think the name's very good. Lumo, I think that's a good name. It's quite a cool offering.
Yeah, I think it's good. I like Proton as a company. I did read a thing that they're going to move out of Switzerland because of potential changes to Swiss privacy laws, where the Swiss are trying to do something the same as the UK and say, actually, we want backdoors to everything. So Proton are going to wrap up and move somewhere else. But I think they've shown they've got a commitment to privacy, Proton. As far as I know, of course, no company's perfect. And more private LLMs, I think, are a good thing.
I completely agree with you. It's got to be a good thing, hasn't it?
It's got to be a good thing. Should we do some media?
I'm just curious where they're going to move to. But that's
I don't know.
A question for another day. Like, where do you go that isn't trying to turn into America?
Where is private enough to get away from America?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question.
With the presumably data center infrastructure, good broadband, I don't know, maybe some island in the South Pacific, I don't know.
You're asking all good questions. Yeah, I just don't know. It's good. Maybe it's one to follow up on when we find out where they're going to go.
Yeah, fair enough. Should we do some media?
Let's do it.
This is curiouser and curiouser for me. A story appeared in the week talking about BBC iPlayer and Apple TV not having captions. And this had passed me by. I know they didn't have 4K for a long time, may still not have 4K actually. But I hadn't twigged that the iPlayer app on Apple TV didn't have captions. Had you?
No, I must confess. So I've started using subtitles a lot. When I go on the treadmill, I've got the open ear headphones that I use, I have my iPad on. But most of my stuff I watch in Apple TV app, or I've been using Jellyfin a little bit more recently. But I don't watch a huge amount on the iPlayer, but not on the Apple TV app. Why is it not got it on the Apple TV?
So good question. And I've started doing this as well. I put on the subtitles because the kids do it, and I've just got used to sort of flicking and reading the subtitles at the same time. I've got more than one thing going on. And I can't remember if I talked about it in the podcast. I went back and watched Sense and Sensibility. No, I didn't. I watched Pride and Prejudice, the BBC version with Colin Firth from a few years ago. And it didn't have subtitles. And I remember thinking, that's weird. Maybe it's just this because it's such an old program. And then this came about where, and it's at the bottom of the article here, if I can find it, not there, but BBC, where Craig Granell, who writes for Stuff in the UK, and we've talked about, amazingly and depressingly, BBC iPlayer on Apple TV still lacks subtitles, despite the organisation's public service remit, which must say a lot about how many people are using Apple TV in the UK. So that's interesting, that it's not Pride and Prejudice that was a problem, it's BBC not providing subtitles.
I'm confused because they do it, I think, on the iPad, but they don't do it on the Apple TV, and the iPad we know supports it.
Yep.
But like you say, maybe there just haven't been enough people. Maybe it's on the long list.
Anyway, I went off and I looked, and I found that BBC frequently asked questions about why there was. And there was a little article about why they hadn't done it, and this is why this gets curiouser and curiouser, because I bookmarked it in Karakeep, and this was last week, and today it looks like this. This FAQ has recently been removed, so BBC have actually taken down the fact that they don't have subtitles in the Apple TV. You can still see it in the URL here, Apple TV subtitles. Why have they removed it?
That's a bit weird. It's not very transparent.
It's deeply untransparent, and frankly, it makes me want to get out my tinfoil hat. What's going on? Are they watching people's comments and they don't like the negative press about not providing it as part of their public service remit, as Craig Granell has said? What is going on? This just is bizarre. It's certainly not accessibility-minded, BBC.
No, I'm a bit disappointed in the BBC here. Normally you hold them up as a positive pillar of society.
Anyway, I think it's just something worth keeping an eye on, because how hard can it be to include subtitles? Like every other, I think ITVX has subtitles. Certainly the Channel 4 app has subtitles as public broadcasters, because I've watched Taskmaster with the subtitles on my Apple TV.
Yeah.
So what is going on? It's not that hard to do. As you say, they've done it on the iPad.
Yeah, there must just be a coding reason they've not got to this. Maybe they need to get AI on it.
Maybe they have. Have they got 4K yet?
Yes.
Oh well, so they can do 4K but not subtitles.
Yeah, they can't walk and chew gum.
Sounding a bit Apple-like, aren't they?
I wonder how many people actually use the Apple TV, because when people see it around my house, people go, "Oh right, I didn't realise this was a product that Apple did." You know, it seems one of those rare products that people just don't understand.
I'm sure the naming is helping them, though.
Yeah, yeah, there is that.
Do you not need an Apple TV to watch Apple TV? Is that not how this works?
But that's probably people's concern, isn't it? You know, because they think you need everything Apple, and it's like, no, you can just buy it. It doesn't matter whether you're on Android.
But imagine us recommending, oh yeah, you should buy an Apple TV. They're really fast, they work really well, they will integrate with everything else you've got. Oh, by the way, you can't watch subtitles on the BBC.
Bit rubbish.
Really rubbish. Something that's not rubbish, although I know nothing about Pokemon other than it was a game on the Nintendo, and the terrible Pokemon cartoon with Pikachu and stuff in it from a few years back. Aardman, the company of Wallace and Gromit, is doing a show that looked about two Pokemon. Sirfetch'd and Pichu will be the Pokemon that are featured, and there's a little teaser for it you can get now on the internet should you want to. So there you go. Does this interest you at all?
I like Aardman. I've never understood Pokemon. My son is into it at an arm's length, I guess. But it blows my mind. I go into a shop with him to buy cards. You can buy one for £1 and one for £100, and I don't really understand what the difference is. But okay, it's good. I'm glad Aardman are doing stuff, and they're carrying. You know, they continue to exist as a business, and they're doing good stuff. But this, I don't know what this is.
I've just more Aardman in the world is delightful. I don't care what IP it's part of. I'm all over it. It's fine. Yep. No. So that's good. And if you're a Pokemon fan, I'm sure you're going squee right now.
Yeah. If you're a Pokemon fan and you like Wallace and Gromit or Shaun the Sheep, boom! This has got to be the best day.
Tell us about Tag.
Tag. So my youngest son, wanted to watch some more films. And more adult films, and I was trying to think, what have I got that he could watch, and I found this film Tag. I don't know if you've ever seen Tag. It's about five American guys, based on true story, that in the month of May they played a game of tag for like over 20 years. You know, grown adults still playing tag, and there's one guy who's played by Jeremy Renner, who never got tagged basically in the whole time they played this. And they all basically set out to go and tag him and work together. It's just a bit of fun. It's a bit silly. Like I say, based on a true story. My son actually quite enjoyed it. It was nice to watch something a bit more growing up with him. The 57% rating, I think, is harsh, but I probably wouldn't give it overly, much more than that. I think maybe it's in the 60s. But it was an okay film, and it looked good on 4K on my Apple TV. I didn't put subtitles on, and I think that's it. But it's got John Hamm in it, who I really like. Jeremy Renner's in it. It's got the guy out The Hangover in it. A couple of other people I didn't really recognise, but you'll probably tell me what they're in. But no, it's just generally a really good film, and it was quite a good one to offer to a young teenage kid to start getting into some different movies that aren't so children oriented.
Fair enough. Never heard of it. Your review has given me no desire to watch it.
Yeah, you're not going to rush out and watch that one.
Stick.
So this was on Apple TV Plus that you can watch on your Apple TV in the Apple TV app. It's got Owen Wilson in it. It's Ted Lasso done by Owen Wilson. He's called Stick, and it's about golf instead of football. And it was all right. It was okay. It wasn't the best thing I've ever watched, but it was very Ted Lasso vibes, so I quite enjoyed it. Half an hour. It was nice, short burst each week. This scored rather highly than what I thought. It was 82% by the reviewers. I'd probably put it in the 70s, which is more in line with the viewer ratings. It was okay. It was 10 episodes. It did feel like they stretched it a little bit.
I got to say, I like Owen Wilson, but when I see he's in something, I always think it's pretty mid.
Yeah.
You're agreeing with me, so okay, it's pretty mid. And unfortunately, like I say, I like him a lot. I think he's a good actor. Marley and Me has made me cry every single time I watch it. Now you're a dog owner, you may also make you cry.
Never seen it.
Oh God, don't watch it. You will cry. Owen Wilson and Jennifer Aniston is easily the best thing he's ever done. That's not fair. He was pretty good in Loki season 1 as well, but mid. Sorry, Owen, mid.
Yeah. It was okay. But it's half an hour of light-hearted bit of humour, obvious storyline, etc.
Yeah, so you've confirmed exactly what I thought it was going to be, and now I don't need to watch it.
Fair.
Is that it for media? That seems very quick this week.
I've been away. You've been away.
Yeah,
family's life gets in the way, doesn't it?
Short show, everybody. We say that every time. Games then. It's more of like I want than I've played this week, I think. I just thought this looked interesting. It's called The Royal Writ. It's being put out there as the next thing after Balatro. Balatro got me very, very hard, it must be said. So the fact that this is coming only to Windows initially, but I presume it will appear on other platforms as well, as another deck builder. I quite like a deck builder. Slay the Spire and Balatro, as I've said. It just looks like a lot of fun to me. I like the animation style. I quite like the graphics on it. So this is one to watch.
Yeah, I'm not a deck builder person. I think it's fair to say. My brain doesn't work that way. 3s,
man. That's decks of cards. Ish.
It's a very simple concept, so I think that's why I like it.
If you say so. A game I have actually played appeared in Apple Arcade while I was away, so I thought I'll have a go at this. Kingdom Rush 5, called Alliance. I'm a big fan of the Kingdom Rush games. They're sort of tower defense games. Beasties come in from one side of the screen, you build various towers, and you try and stop them escaping out the other side of the screen. They've always been very well done. Excellent sound, good graphics. This is just continuing quite a popular theme. The Kingdom Rush games have been on the iPad, frankly, as long as I can remember being there on iPad. You can also get it on Steam or the Mac App Store, or Google Play seems to have it as well. It's really fun. If you like a tower builder game and you want to while away sort of 15-20 minutes, it's a great way to do it.
Fair enough. I haven't played tower builders in a long time, but it does look quite cool.
I think you quite enjoy it. I do. I think it's a well put together game with a great graphic style that they've stuck to, and it's got that sort of Warcraft 2 keep clicking on a thing and people get annoyed vibe to it.
Okay. Yeah, I used to quite like that.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that. There you go. And last but not least, you and I both have Nintendo Switch 2s, I believe.
We do.
There's only really one next generation game for the Nintendo Switch 2, and that is Mario Kart.
Yes.
Well, now there's a second one. Donkey Kong Bonanza has come out, and I haven't seen a bad review of it yet, so I'm giving this a serious side eye.
Yeah, same. I've heard some very good ratings about it. I haven't bought it, but I was hovering it over the button the other night, and I thought, I don't know where to go for it or not. I've got 3 weeks off though, so I'm a little tempted.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds very open world. It's like a completely destructible environment. I think, again, I think Nintendo have done well with the Donkey Kong IP. It's always been quite strong, and this is apparently the strongest game since Mario Odyssey, which was an amazing game.
I did love Mario Odyssey. That was, for me, that was one of the best games I've played in a long, long time.
Well, there you go. There's another reason to go get it.
Yeah, I would imagine by the time we next record, this will be purchased.
And you won't look at Kingdom Rush, which is free to you, but you'll go and drop 70 quid on Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Yeah, that's pretty much how my brain works. I think that's fair to say.
Fair enough.
But it's Nintendo, isn't it? Because you know it's going to be good, and this probably ticks more boxes for me personally.
I think it's absolutely fair, and I bring it up because, like I say, I'm giving it the side eye too. So yeah, I'm sure it's very good.
Also, I kind of feel like I need another game on my Switch because there aren't many Switch 2 only games I'm playing.
It is a problem. There is Slay the Spire available on the Switch too. I'm just pointing that out.
I know, but there's no Switch 2 only games. It's just, like you said, it's really Mario Kart World, isn't it?
It really is only Mario Kart World. There is Fast Fusion as well. That was pretty good.
Yeah, but it was the same when they brought the Switch out. There was very little, and then it grew quickly.
Shall we do a main show?
Let's do it.
This won't take us very long. It's just, for those that aren't aware, the UK has just introduced a law. It came in on July the 24th. I think it was. It's July 25th, sorry, day after July 24th, where it's the first, and I'll use the word again, first world nation to bring in a requirement for age checking for adult websites beyond China and other places with large firewalls. This is an interesting move by the United Kingdom. It's obviously meant to protect children from seeing things that they're not meant to see. A couple of internet services such as Reddit and others have agreed to be part of it. I think Blue Sky is another social media app that's requested that if there is adult content, you need to prove your age. There's a couple of ways of proving your age. Slightly easily defeated, as we'll touch on in a second, but so this went live. I've seen a couple of instances where I've been surfing around and I've been prompted for something. Have you been personally affected by this yet?
Nope. My kids haven't noticed it, so I've got two obviously young teenagers, so I wouldn't be surprised if at some point this does come up. But no, I didn't know this was a thing until you'd put it in the show notes. I'd obviously missed it. So no, it's not impacted me personally. I think it's kind of a good idea, but it's also tricky because, so I've got two young kids. Young kids always want to do things above their age, like play video games or watch movies, as we just discussed. I use a lot of parental controls. It makes it really hard when you want to circumvent it because maybe they're on the cusp of being the right age, or actually all their mates are playing it and you've succumbed to the peer pressure. And that's my concern here. I'm very much for protecting children. But are there going to be ways around it? Is it going to be too strict? I don't know.
Well, there's definitely ways around it, and one of the first ways around it is you just use a VPN, so that's a virtual private network. You and I have recommended them before for protecting your online privacy. Apparently, according to the article from The Verge, there's been a 1,400% jump in signups to VPN apps, so children can get around this, or others, adults who may not want to give up their identity, have used this to get around it.
Wow, and there's going to be, there's going to be a lot of children out there that maybe are ahead of their parents on some of these things. I certainly see that when people ask me to go and help them fix things that their child has done. I wouldn't be surprised by it. Kids would sign up for it, but it must be great for VPN companies because they must be making a fortune.
Yeah, a failure to comply with the act could result in an £18 million fine or 10% of the company's worldwide revenue. So you can understand why Reddit and others are actually paying attention to this. You've obviously got to be, as Apple have proven, sensitive to the laws in the country in which you operate. But given this jump in VPN access, and we know some states in America are doing similar as well, I got to think the VPN companies are going to be next in the firing line. Yeah,
potentially, because then now you're going to have to be 18 to sign up for a VPN. And it does feel like, okay, so we've plugged the gap at a hole over here, but people are just going to go around that. We've blocked that way of getting in. We're just going to go around this way, i.e. get a VPN. And then they're going to do VPNs. And then what's going to come after that?
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous in a way. So a bunch of kids or adults rushed out and did installed VPNs. Then you've got the other side of this, which is, like I say, you can upload a copy of your ID or a picture of yourself, take a selfie, and defeat it. And some people discovered that just uploading a selfie of a character in a video game would get around that.
Especially as games get better and better and better.
Or you could ask your friendly LLM to produce you a photorealistic, representation of a generic adult, and we'll get around that too. So again, it just shows how weak some of this legislation can be in terms of how it can be implemented, how it can be interpreted, the actual uses of it. And all they're showing in a lot of cases is how clever some of the kids or the users are to get around this stuff.
Yeah, like they just upload, parents' ID and stuff. You just don't know, do you? I think it is a good idea though, because it will stop a bunch of young people getting onto these things that won't think about the ways around it. So that's got to be a good thing. If it stops just one person not seeing something, then it's got to be a bonus. But I think kids are very entrepreneurial, and they've got some great ideas.
We have, but again, we talked about T, and the Register article does as well. Is where are these selfies and online registrations being stored? You're asking children.
Oh, I hate to think.
You're asking children, or not children, because you're trying to get rid of this. But are they stealing their parents' IDs to upload them to Reddit for Reddit to store, to be in a thing that's vibe coded for that? The knock-on effects of implementing policies like this are never really thought about. You and I know a little bit about computers, not as much as many, but more than some, and we can see the sort of issues with this right from the outset. I'm with you. I think children should be protected online from seeing imagery that's inappropriate for them. Of course they should. We've said before, we think is as much about education, because unfortunately just putting this into place isn't going to stop it all. What it will do is it'll push people who want access to this content to the fringes of the internet. It would be better if it was more rigorously policed at a higher level, rather than just being able to click on a Reddit forum and being seeing not safe for work imagery. I think there's probably other things they could do to get around to implement the spirit rather than the letter of the law, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you.
And then on the flip side of this, there's immediately been a petition by people to repeal the Online Safety Act, which is already at 350,952 signatures. And this number is going up rather rapidly, as you see. I think you only need 10,000, or is it 100,000 to get it debated in Parliament?
I don't know.
Let's call it 100,000. It says 100,000 there, so I'm guessing. 100,000 to do it, so they've had 3 times the number of signatures already to get it repealed. They won't repeal it. This always happens. They tried to get Trump's visit to the UK during his first thing pushed back as debated in Parliament, but of course the UK government want to do that. They'll just vote the way they did. They voted for this before. They're not going to repeal it at this stage. I just think it's really interesting you immediately get so much pushback against this kind of law.
Yeah, I'm surprised there's that much pushback. I don't know. I'm sure it's like you say, this is a good thing. But
as you and I have been watching it, it has jumped up quite a lot.
Yeah, that's fair. It actually is going up, isn't it? Wow.
It's going up. So I think it's interesting. I think there was a technically better solution rather than passing a law about it, because when you pass a law, this kind of stuff happens. And the real worry for me is you push people to the fringes and things really start to go wrong from there, because they're really into a world they don't understand. But I guess we'll see.
Yep. Yeah, we'll see where it gets to. But like I said, I've not seen this yet, but I'm curious to know what the interface looks like, and are they all doing their own interfaces, or is this one service that's doing it? It's like a Cloudflare service. I was listening to a podcast where Cloudflare controlled a huge amount of the internet. Maybe it was us talking about it. Are they providing a service that does aid validation, and what are they doing with it? Or companies doing their own thing? I'm a bit worried either way now.
Yep. Of interest. Shall we do an app of the week?
Yeah, let's do it.
So my app of the week this week is Octopus Electroverse. I haven't got the link handy. I'm very sorry. Bear with me just a second. My energy provider is Octopus. That I switched over to them from, I think, British Gas was my previous provider. They're an energy company that provides electricity and gas in the UK. They're quite popular. As part of that, if you've got an EV, you can sign into their Electroverse app, which acts a bit like ZapMap and will tell you where decent speed EV chargers are, but more specifically, ones that support the Electroverse app. And that means you can get a card or an app on your phone that you can tap to some chargers, and it will give you A, a discounted rate on using the charger, but B, it goes straight onto your gas and electricity bill. So that can be of amazing benefit when some chargers you have to authenticate 50 quid or something like that in order to start using it. So there is no authentication fee. You just pay what's on there. You get a discount, and you get things like offers saying these chargers are 40% off right now if you want to go and use them. So it's just a really nicely integrated ecosystem that has been built up here.
Feels like Octopus are slowly taking over the world. I mean, they're doing a good job, and they're very highly rated.
They are, and just to show you, I came back from Gatwick Airport yesterday. You can see here is my actual activity, how much I've used, how much CO2 I've saved, how much it cost me to charge at the Ionity in Newport Road, and then again at Downside. My 2 chargers that I needed to get back yesterday, and boom, done, all maintained within the active. And the really nice thing, it was almost like Tesla. While it was charging, it knew it was my account charging on that Ionity charger, and had a real-time update of how quickly it was charging and how much it was costing me.
So you drove from Gatwick to your house?
Yep.
How many miles is that?
It's not that many. My EV's not particularly great at long range.
Right, okay. I'm just, one of us is looking at cars casually, and I was just trying to do the math in my head.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going long range, I don't think I'd buy the Volvo, but most EVs don't do that kind of trip that frequently. But as you see, it's more than capable of doing it. And if you look at the charging times for both of these things, this was 21 minutes to go from, I think it was 32% to 90%.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Right, and this was 18 minutes to go from whatever it was, 35% to 80%.
Well, probably a similar amount because you were doing more kilowatts.
Yeah. So more or less the same amount of charge, but you can see how quickly the car charged. And that's one of the reasons I picked the Volvo, is it has the ability to accept quite a fast charge.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, well, we should have done a car debate for main show if you were doing this. I have many thoughts about this.
I'm just looking. I'm not committing to buying anything right now.
Oh, I think that's fair enough. Yeah, so that was my app of the week. Thing of the week?
It's a thing of the week. I've just gone with a film. I think we've talked about this film before, but again, it was one I watched with a teenager who wanted to watch some different kind of films. So this one's called Back in Action. It's Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz, where they basically are parents who haven't told their kids they used to be secret agents, but for whatever reason they've got to come out of hiding. It was okay. I think 30% is a bit harsh by the reviewers. But it was an all right kids film to watch with your teenagers, like I say, who want to start trying out different films. And I think 6% is probably about fair. It's all right. It's not the best film you're ever going to see, but it's very much not the worst film you're ever going to see. What was worrying is there's a 15-year gap in the film of this is what they did 15 years ago. Here we are today. The characters didn't seem to age in that 15-year period. I'd like to know what they're using. But it was an all right film. Like I say, it was good. Because I'm in that period with my kids where they want to start exploring different things, but I don't necessarily want them seeing scary adult films or lots of blood and what have you. So I'm just trying to pick a few sort of teen-friendly films.
There's all these Avengers and Marvel films out there that are almost perfectly...
We haven't done that yet.
They're almost perfectly identified for you, Chris. That's what they are.
I did show him the trailer for Thunderbolts, but it didn't look very exciting.
Well, you wouldn't know any of the characters. Go back and do Iron Man. Come on.
Maybe. I did actually quite like the first Iron Man.
Go back and do Iron Man. It's a good film. Up to Avengers Part 2, they're all good films.
Well, that's a lot of films, isn't it?
Well, there you go. You're looking for films to watch with your kids. Job done. Okay.
I think I want to try a few different genres with him. Like he's done Die Hard and Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Die Hard's quite an adult film.
Yeah, it's all right.
Die Hard's quite an adult. Anyway, we'll get lost down that. I think we can call that a show, Chris.
Yeah, I think so. So if anybody wants to get in contact with us, Rod is on Mastodon. He's at G5Maniac at Mastodon.scot. He's also on Blue Skyways at G5Maniac at bsky.social. I'm on Mastodon and I'm at _CGP at Mastodon.social. We are on YouTube. If you go to the website, wakefromsleep.com and click on the YouTube link, you can watch us. Or you can drop us an email, wakefromsleep@protonmail.com.
Talk to you next week, Chris.
Cheers, Rod.